Hello there, my name is Sixo, but more on that later, because if you thought the current crop of Transformers Generations toys was all getting a little bit predictable and samey, we've got something truly weird and wonderful to check out today. I mean, how many Transformers toys do you know that have got a six-limbed Centaur-styled alternate robot mode? Not many, I bet. Anyway, we are of course going to be getting into all of that with Onyx Prime today, brought to you by TF Source, so you will find a link to their site in the description below, and you should absolutely go and check them out for all your Transformers Age of the Primes needs. Anyway, let's kick things off today with a comparatively straightforward bipedal version of the robot mode, and I think this looks great. I was super into this guy as soon as it was unveiled. In hand, it does not disappoint, great presence to it, really nice details, and just overall I really think it works, and it's something a little bit different, eh? I mean, that is not a head design that I've seen on many Transformers toys before. It's fairly idiosyncratic. It's kind of almost something from like the Beast era, but it's got a definite Generations vibe to it. Nice silver finish on the actual face itself with some beautiful red eyes. I'm really digging it. It's almost a little bit Deathsaurus, you know, with that second set of more beastly eyes up on the head crest there. I'm really digging that gold paint for the kind of beak and the teeth as well. I just think it looks fab. You got some more gold and some silver highlights all over the chest here. Obviously you've got his little hooves just kind of plugged into the sides there. That all looks really good and quite cohesive. Similar story on this kind of skirt piece just in the middle here. Nice bit of silver and gold again, and there's not tons of colour going on, but these highlights are appreciated. Likewise, some very appreciated gold accents on the shoulder pads there, which is good to see. Not much on the arms elsewhere. Again, it's quite brown, but it works. And of course the legs are a little bit of an oddity, but we'll get to all of that. But some nice kind of hairy moulding going on just here above these hooves and things like this. Little silver knee pads. It all comes together quite nicely. Also really digging these wings. Lovely detail with these moulded spikes. You got this nice kind of gradated paint just there as well. Little gold highlights. That kind of furry moulding just up here as well. Little touches of silver. So these are fantastic. And whilst yes, the overall toy is very brown as a say, and some people might not like that, that is the inherent design of Onyx Prime, and you know, I think it really kind of comes together okay here. I think they've done a good job with it. Now, articulation wise, the head will move very freely from side to side. You can look down, well, like a little bit more looking forward if anything, but thanks to transformation you can bend it up as well. Shoulders move very freely backwards and forwards, and there is this little shoulder pad as well, which actually kind of clicks out of position like so, and if you do that, then you can bring the shoulder all the way up and out like so. There is a bicep rotation thanks to a mushroom peg in the arm just there, but on his left arm I do find that it comes untabbed far too easily, so that is really annoying. It's not the end of the world because you can just kind of plug it back in again, but I find it keeps happening during normal handling and it's quite frustrating. I mean, literally just trying to bend the elbow and yeah, it's gonna come out pretty much every time. Anyway, you can get the elbow to bend to 90 degrees, and there is some wrist swivel and decent articulation in the hands as well. He's got these kind of claws going on with the fingers all molded into one static piece, and that just folds out quite nicely like so. The only real downside of these hands is that as cool as they look, those claws and everything, they never really look closed as fists, which is slightly strange. Anyway, there is a waist swivel as well. You just fold up that little crotch piece like so, and then you can access it just there, and that's pretty decent. Slightly impeded from the back as well, but it works. You've got decent enough range in those hips, which will go all the way out to the side, and they can come up very far as well. Again, you might have to move this waist piece out of the way, but that's really, really good. You've also got a rotation at the thigh just there as well. And then we should talk about the lower legs, because there is a knee bend just there, and they kind of click into place like that for transformation, but you can bring them down, and there's a very decent kind of range just there in the knee. And then you do obviously get more articulation here if you kind of bend his legs backwards, and again that will click into place, or you can kind of bring it down like so. And then there is a little bit of ankle tilt going on as well, so that's very much appreciated. And you've also got these weird little heels at the back just there. There's a bit of movement. Now these do have a bit of a habit of popping off, I'm not going to lie, so if anything I kind of prefer to fold them away, but officially they are supposed to be out for a bit of extra stability. Now of course on this guy we also need to talk about the wings, and these are on two separate kind of plates that are connected to this little hinge just here, and that works really well. I love this kind of tattered effect that's going on with this gradation again. That just looks super, and it's this kind of soft flexible plastic, so there's no real worry about breakage or anything like this, but it still looks really, really good. And I love the way they look when they're fully deployed, or of course you could just bring them back down again. Then of course you can hinge them all the way back into kind of a backpack, or bring them all the way forward for sort of a big span, or just in the middle if you prefer, so quite a lot of options. And there there is even a little bit of a hinge up and down as well, so overall these display beautifully. Add it all up and you've got a very unique experience when it comes to posing Onyx Prime. I think they've done a great job at kind of interpreting this weird and wonderful robot mode into something that actually works in 3D form. Now next we should talk about the character's weapons, and first of all there's this spearhead which represents the triptych mask that is often associated with in fiction, so you can see the sort of three faces lined up just there. There's a little bit of paint on this side which looks quite nice, and there's a decent bit of moulding as well. There is no paint on the other side though, so it is a little bit plain overall. I mean, there's this little Onyx Prime logo just there, but yeah, a little bit bare. Anyway, then of course you can take the handle and just plug that into the top there. Now there are some little tabs just here on the side and a slot just inside his fingers for it to kind of tab into, but I find that actually it snaps pretty nicely just inside his palm. Then you can kind of close the fingers up around the handle. And with the spear in hand, it absolutely adds a little something in terms of presence here, right? Like, it is a little bit plain, it could have maybe done with a bit of a nicer finish, but I still like it as an accessory overall, and it definitely suits the character. There is more though, because then you've got his beast mode tail, which folds around like so into kind of two halves, and yes, it looks a bit like a comedy mustache, but it's actually now a bow weapon. So then you have a little tab slot here, and you can use those tabs on the spear to put that in place, and then you can use that tab slot in the fingers to connect the bow weapon, and there are several ways that this can be done. First of all, like so, and that looks pretty good in terms of your typical firing pose. There's a little bit of a consideration with how you position everything to kind of make it look natural, but I absolutely think it works. Alternatively, there is another tab on the front of the bow, so you can just go ahead and secure that, and that's pretty good for Onyx wielding his weapon in a kind of more upright pose, which to me might be my preferred option overall. I think that looks really, really good. This weapon is quite clever and definitely adds a little something to the overall package. I love it. Anyway, suffice it to say, I'm big into this robot mode so far, right? Like, I absolutely love what they're cooking here. I know it's a little bit weird and wonderful, it's probably not going to be to everybody's tastes, but I'm absolutely up for something a little bit different, and as I say, I really feel like they've delivered in terms of the humanoid mode here. I mean, at a point where so much of Transformers is about nostalgia and looking to the past, and especially the G1 cartoon for inspiration, it's great to have something definitely a little bit outside of that, right? And I just think it looks terrific. I think they've realised this really, really well. And the same is true with all of the Primes so far, to some extent at least, and Onyx may be the ultimate representation of that, but I've been truly enjoying this lineup so far. I think each of them has been a success in their own individual ways, and this is just adding to that. I'm absolutely loving it. I can't wait for the rest of this lineup. It's just so creative and so fun, and again, just something a little bit different to what we normally see, you know? If nothing else, it just feels good to be in a period where we're getting stuff that is unlike anything we've seen before, you know? It's just unexplored territory, which is always appreciated, and a brand that has been running for this long, and this is just terrific. Now, there is more to say about this robot mode, because then of course we've got the Centaur version to look at, and you want to get there by first of all folding his little face up to kind of create this beastly mask. I mean, you can just use that in the regular robot mode as well, and it kind of reminds me of the old school Beast Wars mutant mask gimmicks, if anything. I absolutely love it. It's freaky as you like, but it just looks cool. Anyway, next you want to fold up these hoof legs over his shoulders, just like so. Then you want to bring his regular shoulders forward, kind of out the way, and that enables you to move the hoof legs down into position, and then you can just fold those regular arms back. Then just move this crotch piece up and out the way. This next part took a minute to figure out, but you kind of just want to make sure that the beast head is slightly out the way, and then you want to slide the whole top half of the robot mode body back on a big hinge, like so. And that will click into position quite nicely, and then you can just bring that crotch piece back down. And then it's mostly about positioning his various legs, starting with those front Centaur legs, just getting those into position like so. As for the back ones, you can just kind of click everything up and kind of truncate them, and then just fold in those heels. And then if you want to, you can fan out his wings, stick his bow and arrow in his hand again, and honestly, it's just such a vibe, right? Like full-on Centaur robot mode. And I don't really know what to make of this thing. It's so bizarre. I love it. I mean, anybody that grumbles about Transformers not being daring enough at times should have no complaints here, surely, because this is just so wacky. I just think it comes together beautifully. Like, it's very different to the main robot mode, but the transformation between the two is not that hard at all. Like, it's very quick and easy to do, but the results are really good. I mean, I can't deny that these front legs look a little bit weedy, if anything. They're a little bit flat on this kind of shin piece, face just here due to the nature of the way they fold away for robot mode, so that's a grumble some people may have. It doesn't bother me too much. I do wish there was maybe a little bit more articulation in this hoof. I mean, it can move back and forth, which is probably all you need for a hoof, to be fair, but it does mean that when it sticks out to the side, it looks a little bit awkward in some poses, but it's fine. Otherwise, you know, you can get them into some surprisingly decent poses. I mean, you can also use that hinge in the main body for a little bit of extra articulation, and what can I say? It's just odd, I don't know, so bizarre, but I'm just so pleased that they went for it, you know? You can do the full transformation though, go the full beast by just folding his head away for starters. You can then untab this piece on the chest, and that just kind of folds up to kind of cover the face. Now again, you want to bring those shoulders forward, but they're actually going to stay in this position this time for the full beast mode. You then just want to rotate those forearms and the hands so that they're facing down like so. Next, you just need to make sure that those legs are folded as much as they'll go here. It's not really a transformation step, but it is confusing in the instructions, mostly because of this diagram here, which makes it look like the legs are compacting to the point where the feet are kind of tucking in against the knee, and that's just not possible on the physical toy. So that's all you're gonna get there, but honestly that works just fine. Anyway, then you want to fold that mid-body hinge all the way back, just as it was for robot mode, and just make sure that crotch piece is kind of dangling for the beast mode. It looks maybe a little bit suggestive if anything, but there you go. Anyway, once you're done, you want all of the various legs positioned like so. Then you can fold up that mustache accessory and plug it in to make the beast mode tail, and just fold down that little section there. And last but not least, fold the beast mode head down and into position. And there we go, full beast mode. And whilst I'm fairly certain I can confidently say this won't be for everyone, I absolutely dig it. I mean, this is just my kind of strange vibe that I love in Transformers when they do things like this, yeah? I mean, don't ask me what it is. I guess it's a sort of six-limbed dragon monster thing with wings and, you know, whatever else, but it looks cool nonetheless. I mean, there are some oddities about it, mostly like the way that the robot mode arms kind of stick out the front here. I don't mind it, but it does look slightly strange, like they're not very kind of obvious dragon arms or anything like this, so maybe that's a compromise, I don't know. I think it works personally. And it is slightly strange how this kind of butt flap section doesn't tab in at all once you put the tail in. Like, I really feel like that should just compact down and click into place, but it doesn't, so a little bit odd. Mostly though, this is just a super creative, super fun, really weird beast mode, and it's something a little bit different to all the kind of trucks and things that we've seen on some of the other 13 Primes alternate modes so far, so I really appreciate it for that. Now, overall, the articulation is basically what you would expect. All of the joints are the same in the various limbs and the wings and all of that, but there is also the beast mode head as well here, which will tilt from side to side. It's on a little ball joint, and you can articulate the jaw as well, so that's really cool. And I definitely like the design of that beast head as well. Really cool little fangs, again, with a little bit of silver and gold paint going on, some nice red eyes. It looks fabulous. You can even tab the other accessories around the back here. You can tab the spearhead onto the top of the handle, and then that kind of tabs into his bum just there, and then that sort of works. And whilst there's not a whole ton of gimmicks going on here, I feel like the toy has kind of enough inherent play value to kind of push it over the line, you know? You don't really need lights and sounds and things like this on a toy with, you know, 4 modes. We've still got 1 to go, and like a Centaur mode and whatever else. There's enough going on, I think. Now, as I say, there is kind of 1 more mode to go, which involves putting these middle legs back into position over his shoulders, so you just want to fold those arms back out like so, and then that just enables you to rotate those extra legs up and over the top there. You can then bring those hooves down into position, and there's a little tab slot for them just on the bottom of the beast mode, just there. And then you just want to orientate those front robot mode arms into position, and jobs are good. And basically you've got 4-legged dragon mode instead of 6-legged dragon mode, and it's not stunningly different or anything, but hey, options. I mean, for what it's worth, I really like that it can do both, and they do feel a little bit different actually. Like, there's a slightly different character to this 4-legged mode somehow, so I definitely appreciate that it can do that. Again, you could argue that these hands don't quite work as claws because they're not flat-footed or anything, but it works well enough to my eye. And whilst this beast mode may not be quite up to the heights of my beloved Transmetal 2 Dragon Megatron, I still think it's pretty banging overall, and it definitely looks quite imposing, it's nice and big, and it certainly holds its own here. Overall then, I've really got nothing but nice things to say about Onyx Prime. I did have a little bit of a grumble with that one arm that keeps popping off, but other than that, I think it's pretty much all win here. You know, it's 4 modes, kind of anyway, and there's a lot of creativity thrown in there as well, so all in all, what's not to like? It's a very definite toot. Now, as I already mentioned, this video is brought to you by TF Source. You will find a link to their site in the description below, and you should absolutely go and check them out for all your Transformers needs. I would of course also be grateful if you could drop me a like for this effort, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, but otherwise that's it from me, so have a great rest of your day, and TTFN.